blow the nose off of one of the presidents on Mount Rushmore, then use a series of customized off-road motorcycles, hang gliders, and kayaks to return safely to Tyler, Texas, a suburb of Dallas. That was kind of like the plot of a book I ghost wrote, to impress people with my writing skills back in the 80s and 90s. If people do not think I am God's Paco, then they should agree with my oldest daughter, Rachel Marie, that I am at least a figure outer because we have these things figured out. People may think I only figured out things and then embellished them with, I had a vision from God. But I get it. People don't want to believe that. They don't want to believe in the spirituality of anything on this flat earth nation with its golden age past, because the mud flood was Armageddon. That's why I'm never going to tell you anything else. My friends are never going to tell you anything else. Are you going to tell them anything else? The famous RJ Randy from Wisconsin. We got a flat earth nation and the golden age past.
Yeah, I've been aware of that for some time, and it's it gives you, by having that outlook or that understanding that what God has revealed is 100% true, then yeah, it's a nice anchor to hang on to.
I know you're not feeling well, so buckle in. Hang on. Go ahead. I'm going to show the disclaimer. We're going to get right at it today. This fair use disclaimer, we're going to use it up. Anything you hear from me that sounds like advice, you check with the people that the government tells you to check with, your experts, not your friends or your family. You go to somebody like a Dr. Fauci, somebody recognized leader in their field. In finance, same. Don't mess with me. Yeah. Don't mess with me today. Did you see the thumbnail?
Yeah.
I did that. I did that. Look at that rock. Some sort of web netting in the, when people understand that they can't explain it because you don't understand. The rocks are body parts. The rocks are body parts. That's not a computer chip. It's just, we are little battery circuits that run on electricity. What do you expect? They show these in all of the old diagrams of how things connect, and that's just a rock. It's a rock. It's not like, oh my gosh, aliens dropped it and a fisherman found it. Let's freak out. Let's give it a Wikipedia page. Wow. 1862. This is during the Civil War. Hey, look, Utah is listed as a state in 1862 with a population of 40,000. Established 1850. They got, if it was a territory, this seems slow. It would say territory. Now that, I ruined that. What happened? Let me just show you here. If it was a territory, it would have said it was a territory because some of these things are listed as territories. Show me a territory. Indian Territory, California, Vermont, Maine, Massachusetts. I thought we had more territories in 1862. But anyway, I Googled when it became a state, And Utah wasn't a state in 1862. So they got a problem with that. And it lists, they're describing our government, what it is. Here's the Constitution, supreme law of the land, but it goes to the Supreme Court. They'll decide. And the red and the are slave leaning or not slave leaning. So it was definitely cut right down the middle. Congress, legislature, and all of these. So who provided this map? Oh, it was a diagram of the federal government and American Union by N. Mindel Shafir, the attorney and counselor at law for office number 5 of the Masonic Temple in the Cincinnati. That's where Cincinnati was a big deal back in the day. So whatever we got going here, I was trying to find that whole, are we a corporation? Are we not? All I found was like mystery states out of order and some other nonsense. So I thought you'd like to see some fancy Masonic things before we get into the scriptures and how mad I am at the world, RJ. What's this year? What is this year? What year are they talking about here? What year was it? What year did they think they were in? Did they know they were making up a new year? Maybe. Huh. This is on top of what they call Macy's. It used to be called Harriman's or something. That looks fun. Got a balloon. These are what I do. Oh, this is the Wanamakers is what it was called. This was such a good video. Hey, Mom, what was the Tartarian organ music like at Wanamakers? That's the name of the video. And Wanamakers, they had a monorail to take you around to the different departments. It seemed cool. Hey, Syria.
And that was suspended, huh?
Looks pretty cool, huh?
Transportation.
Yeah. Yep. And that's the name of the man's store. It's for little children, it looks like. I thought it was for grown-ups. Maybe a grown-up can squeeze in there. I don't know. I didn't get to go to the Macy's ever. I only heard about it in the movies.
Yeah, probably adults at that time weren't as large as adults are today, but yeah. Maybe.
So this is interesting here. West Gulf countries and Turkey support the opposition, while Russia, China, and Iran support the regime. This was when they were setting up that they were going to take over Syria with the Muslim Brotherhood. I found this in a video, so I did a screenshot because I didn't trust his link, Biologically, ideologically. I don't know why I said biologically. Don't go down that road. So this is a real thing. This creates the ideal atmosphere for AQI to return to its old pockets in Mosul and Ramadi and will provide a renewed momentum under the presumption of unifying the jihad among Sunni Iraq and Syria. I've been busy, RJ. These people at school don't know how busy I am on my full-time job. So this is the outline of that plan. I didn't get all of the pages because they didn't offer them, but these was what in 1943, when they were planning the dividing after the World War II. You've heard of the World War II, right? They kind of shove it down our throat. I mean, it was a 3-year, 11-month war, and there's been decades worth of material put out about it. But so they want, these were the measures what they impose sanction, enhance Russian brain drain, provide lethal aid to Ukraine. Okay, so they've moved that up now. Increase support to the Syrian rebels. Look, it looks like they've got a few things left. Reduce Russian influence in Central Asia. Good luck on that. This was a pretty audacious plan. I don't know
Well, I
how much.
sent you a couple of videos last night. That one was that satire show of the 60s in Britain.
Yep, RJ, I love it when that happens because I had watched that video last night. And to refresh, I mean, we've both seen it before. We've featured it, but it was a good reminder. And you sent it to me, and it was right on time. Donald Pleasance and his youthful benevolence. Oh, he's a good actor. He's scary.
Yeah.
He was just explaining it to that guy, cool as a cucumber. Oh yeah, it's all planned. Hey, they don't know what these are. They think they go, maybe it's for pigeons, maybe it is for people's ashes after they die, but it's named after a dove, Colum, as in Colombia.
Okay.
Hey, that guy that got murdered by the assassin, their company is the 4th largest billion in the US. And CVS Health is up there too. Alphabet is Google. Alphabet is Google. I don't know. I just thought that's interesting. I guess I'm done. Now we get to the good part. Hey, listen to this knucklehead.
They are the men of renown. Okay? That's what the Bible calls them. This is what Genesis 6 is talking about. And this just wasn't a rebellion. This was an effort to usurp the divine order. You see, the Watchers, aka the fallen angels, shared with humans forbidden knowledge, such as metalworking, how to create different weapons of war.
The brainwashing is complete for them, RJ. People have to realize we got to shepherd the narrow road. We can't control this wide highway of the Rob Skiba flat earth psyop release. Yeah, it's flat, but just keep believing in the Trinity and everything else, and America rules. And ooh, Enoch will just tickle you guys that like to have the itchy ears. You want to comment on that, RJ? Because I mean, it's the same Enoch nonsense every day, brand new.
Yeah, it's different flavors of it, but yeah.
They always get that guy. Doesn't he look like a young Billy Ray Cyrus, that guy? Like he did. Where's this guy walking? What does this mean? It's the closed caption says it's Erstall. So phonetically, I found out what that means.
Stable, but the word stable used to have a more general meaning in the sense of place or location. Earth stables are mysterious underground places, corridors, and chambers not made by
That's not really a good example of an Erdstall. I want to see a better example.
Hearted, however. Anyone brave enough to go exploring in these tunnels has to squeeze through an opening just over a foot wide. The tunnels generally have one entrance and exit point, meaning that there was hardly any airflow through the systems. They were usually hidden away somewhere in old settlements.
How about that? I mean, we have studied a lot of tunnels, RJ. We have really studied a lot of tunnels, man. And this is new.
Nick had found themselves the owners of a maze of Erdstall tunnels beneath their property, measuring at least 25 meters or 82 feet long. Local talk soon turned to it being the dwelling of friendly goblins.
I wonder how long they considered that, you know? Like, wow, it's goblins. Would that be the first thing that popped in your mind? Friendly, though.
Fill up with water in the winter. Probably not the best place to be keeping any foodstuffs or livestock animals either. It is only in recent years that the caves have been explored by professional archaeologists.
That figures. Just underneath all these towns, they got Erdstalls.
Yeah, he dashes off with his compass and tape measure to document the site, and he is never afraid to get his hands dirty. According to Joseph, the tunnels were built in the medieval clearing period of the 11th century.
Wow. That's like, to me, that's right around the time of the crucifixion when they were saying, go to hide in the hills till the mountains fall on me. Just doesn't have to mean it means that, though. What's with this all of a sudden? Muslims busting bad like on any, it's like, I get it. Drink in moderation, but what's with these people?
Through distillation. Although alcoholic beverages were prohibited in Islam, Muslim alchemists continued to study the distillation process.
Does that make any sense?
Maybe to them, yeah. If they don't want to have anything, well, I guess it's like knowing your enemies, right? I mean, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Is that something that you're familiar
It could
with?
or it could be a desperate attempt to, act like there were Muslims, act like they studied this, but weren't going to do it just for the scientific purpose. And then it leaked out to the world, and now they can condemn it because, oh no, why did you drink these things that we invented? When the Bible clearly talks about people drinking, and constantly warning them, don't drink too much. Don't drink too
Fermentation
much.
is a natural process. I mean, it just happens. It isn't like, who thought of this? Because it just happens. Food will ferment, and beverages will ferment.
Good morning, Sergio. Thank you for popping in here. Right. I mean, and yeah, and nobody encourages anybody to be drunk all the time.
But
this is crazy. They invented it and they hate it, but they were so hooked on science,
refining it as a scientific art. The famous Arab alchemist Jabir ibn Hayyan, known in the West as Geber, was one of the first to document the distillation technique, giving rise to alcohol as we know it today.
Okay, history without the Bible. We really appreciate your nonsense. So this is the video I got those screenshots from. What the hell is this? This guy didn't talk. I looked at his channel. It's ridiculous. This is the only thing like it. The rest of it is like, look, I'm going to mommy's for Christmas and shit. And this is like all of a sudden he laid out everything I needed to know about this nonsense of like, wow, they really set Syria up and based on a case from 1942 where they injected the idea that if the United States needs something called common law, they invented something called common law. I'll show that later. But this is where I got that stuff from. He just scrolled through it so I could read it, People might want to read it. I don't know. I read it for you. Or you can still read it. What's this one about? Oh, columbariums. I was looking, that's a new word on me, and I've been studying Columbian
graves looking to make more room by
States.
constructing a columbarium along the south side of the cemetery.
Yeah, but not everyone is on board with this plan. Fox 31's Rachel Sauer speaking with people who say there is actually a safety aspect involved.
Yeah, Kim and Jeremy, well, the room at Fort Logan Cemetery was packed with concerned community members who say nothing was discussed with them before.
They want to build this columbarium at Fort. What do you got going here, dude?
About 49 of those acres. And development is part of the development that's affecting the neighbors is the construction of a columbarium.
The proposed columbarium will be a series of 10-foot tall walls where cremated remains will be stored to address a growing need in the cemetery.
At the rate that we're burying right now, we got about
We'll get back to that, I think. This is my algorithm. First one up that I hear was like, I don't need to know any more about Jack Parson and Aleister Crowley. Maybe people do. But that'd be a good one. This is the PB success, Eisenhower and those guys selling bananas and cutting off people's hands and shit, overthrowing elected officials. And Erdstall, the only thing they say about those small tunnels is that they've got one open for tourists now. And then they do show you that, you know, there's one way in and one way out, and they're small. You're not going to make it. If you've ever been called, hey, chubby, you won't make it down this. Whoa, what? See, I don't know what's going on, RJ. Weird, right? But not much of not much, just a type of tunnel found across Europe. Unknown, but from around 1100, they think. Religious or spiritual purpose is the only thing they can figure out. They don't want to listen to anybody like you. You're just crazy, man. A fogu is another thing. Underground dry stone structure found on Iron Age. Boogie hole. I don't know. There it is, though. They found that there. Fugus. I'm just learning more. We got so many different types of tunnels in this world. Houston has a tunnel system underneath it. 95 full city blocks, 20 feet below Houston, and that's a swamp. There are similar systems under Chicago, Dallas, Oklahoma City, Montreal, Toronto, and I'm sure a lot more. The architectural historian Stephen Fox stated that the idea for tunnels under every major city came from this building. It was linked by tunnel to another garage in 1961. All those tunnels built under the cities started 1961. They're lying, people. I don't know. This might have been a rabbit hole for a couple of minutes. I had a few minutes. This is that bank that started it. It used to be called that, but it's just changing hands all the time. It's only big, largest tenant was the Coronado Club, the district attorney, and all that. I was interested. What Coronado Club? That's funny. Look at that. No website. No Wikipedia page. So I just thought I'd look in it. It's nice. I could see why they needed to explain the tunnel system under this Mudflood building, that they said, we built this. This is now our building. It's pretty nice. They got a world famous chef. If you have to ask how much this costs, you can't afford it. Do you have any idea what that is, RJ? The grasshopper? Are they serving glazed grasshoppers or what?
Locusts with not sure.
What's this? Oh, this is that case. Was this just one picture, or did I look up the United States? I was trying to figure out, are we a corporation? Because we had that one case meant that we had to pass something called common law. Or are we covering up everything? This is the one of the floors in Macy's. They call it Macy's now. It used to be that Wanamaker's. Having a hard time loading that picture. Here's the outside of it, I think. Or is this Philadelphia Freemasonic Hall? Well, we're still on the air. I don't know. It seems like it's going really slow, though. So that's as big as it gets. But those are just little stone panels that, it could be a show, I guess, RJ, about, we don't build, how they build these buildings with a horse and buggy. Well, if you don't know, this stuff is fake. I mean, it's time to get into, all of this is just want to lead up to opinions on, this is the store today. Of course, we can't fix the lights. This is the famous organ that they put in a store so they could serenade the customers. Anybody believe this stuff? Where's the monorail? They must have taken it out. Columba means a dove. All right. So if I go back now and do the Benghazi thing. Man, this is bugging me, RJ. This guy lives in Colorado now. We all heard about, something happened there, RJ. It involved Libya. And it involved things like this.
You may have heard the word Benghazi a few times or a few thousand times in the past few years.
On the Benghazi and
probes about Benghazi.
The Benghazi committee.
You wouldn't have had your Benghazi situation.
Whether from Fox News and Republicans in Congress who insist it's a major scandal, or some liberals joking about it on Twitter, it all has to do with Republicans' deeper beliefs about Barack Obama's presidency and with the politics surrounding Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign. But to see how Benghazi fits into all of that, you need to know exactly what happened in Benghazi in the first place. On the night of September 11th,
So, the story of Susan Rice. She went out the next day and said it was a spontaneous thing, nothing to see here. And they stood by that for years, just like they cover up everything. We've forgotten all about these things, systematic failures in leadership later, but what does it really matter, Hillary asked when she was pressed, because she was Secretary of the State. And things always are going to keep getting worse, RJ. This is what motivated me to start the ministry. What do you remember about this, RJ? 9/11.
Well, you mean the initial or the Benghazi? That was like an anniversary date, but
yeah.
As far as accountability, that was what she was, Hillary. What difference does it make? It's already done, so there's no reason to hold anyone accountable, more or less.
And in the meantime, much later we hear that Gaddafi was going to go with gold. He was building a river. And then, it's time to kill Gaddafi. And people forget about it. I'll have more to say about this un momento.
Starting around 7 a.m., the Americans were able to escape the compound and leave the country. The CIA initially blamed the attack on a mob protesting an anti-Islam movie, which had sparked protests elsewhere in the Middle East. Then UN Ambassador Susan Rice made this claim on several Sunday talk shows.
It began spontaneously in Benghazi as a reaction to what had transpired some hours earlier in Cairo.
That turned out to be mostly wrong. The attackers were members of Islamist militias, as we now know, not a random mob. Republicans accused the Obama administration of tampering with intelligence, specifically in Rice's talking points for the Sunday shows, to hide the fact that it was a terrorist attack.
Did the Obama administration play down what happened in Libya, what happened in Cairo, because it would make Obama foreign policy look better?
But later investigation showed that she'd honestly repeated CIA analysis rather than...
That sounds like excuse making to me.
Yeah.
They say he's the greatest communicator that ever lived.
CIA at their finest moment, huh?
Yeah, I think he's a homosexual married to a man.
Pretty
that
sure.
Obama is both weak on terror and corruptly authoritarian enough to hide the truth. But this is also about politics. Republicans want to embarrass Obama and damage Hillary Clinton, who was then Secretary of State at the time of the attack. House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy admitted as much on national.
I don't believe they're giving the whole true story there, RJ.
Unlikely.
And the figure outer, the man who calls himself Salt Paco now as an artist, has worn this bracelet from the day you met me. And it's a crew of people that did not survive a flat spin over Kandahar because they were bagging and tagging the people to prove that Obama was not soft on terror like Mitt Romney said. And they were using a plane that used some mysterious technology that people found out could be tracked even if they took the battery out of it and walked away 100 feet. If they had a certain group of people, it was more of an art than a science, they said, that could listen and pick it up and understand. My son was one of them. He almost died in a flat spin because they were using a bad aeroplane. And then the first homosexual that ever died in combat died a year later in the same type of weather when it was a flat spin. They did not celebrate like they would in a normal LGBTQ satisfied country like the United States is. They would have played that up, but they did not because they already had a story programmed that day, like the video that you forwarded to me that we've shown before that everybody might remember, that they had something planned for that day, in that the first open homosexual that was on a Division I football team thought he should be drafted in the NFL. And the big story that day was going to be, is the NFL snubbing him only because he's gay? And they missed the chance. They didn't take the chance to say, the first open homosexual in the don't ask, don't tell era has died in combat. That would have been a good story for them, don't you think? But they,
if they could, use it to their advantage, why not?
It sounds like he was a really nice young man that served his country and was all. I mean, what my child had to go through, and what all of the other men that I met had to go through it, because I partied with them. They're smart, super smart. You know, you had to be super, super smart to even qualify for that job. 96th Military Intelligence Wing, they were the first people from that military intelligence wing to ever die, you know, and they're the people that in the planes, they don't get parachutes because they can't get captured, you know, that type of shit.
Right. Yeah.
People think I'm embellishing my stories. I do not. What I just made up that I have this bracelet? It's Benghazi. It's 9/11. It's the Clintons. It's the Dixie Mafia tried to usurp and get all the money, the Burma Triangle, and the other mafias of the world that are all in on the fake atomic weapons and the fake quantum mass and, oh, it's dark matter. Oh, it's Nephilim blood. You know, all of the distractions in the world that we get, there's still going to be a narrow road. They know it. They don't care. It's almost like it's their job to belittle and diminish the Bible-believing Christians. And the Bible-believing Christians are dug in on stupid with the Trinity thing. And it's like, everybody goes like, well, yeah, it's confusing. That's why we don't talk about it. It's time to talk about it, because the whole situation of where we live in, when people are kind of going peace, peace, when there is no peace, there is no peace. There's no peace promised in the Bible. We're going to be saved by fire.
Yeah, eventually. And it won't be happening this year or next year, but yeah, it will pan out. You know, all this works out for, in the end, for those who love God.
I've heard that Syria, was one of the few Muslim countries that didn't make the women wear the headscarf and the veil and dress in black, but now they're going to. And the United States paid for the moderate ISIS to take over Syria since Benghazi 9/11, when they killed the ambassador because Hillary was doing what they do, shady things to get guns to ISIS, while we were still fighting them in Afghanistan. And people go, well, she said, what difference does it make? So what difference does it make? Have you heard Taylor Swift's new song? It's just it's a famous singer that people will know,
Yeah, I recognize the name, but I don't follow her, so I have no idea what her music's like.
So that was some pretty crappy ideas about Benghazi. Now, let's see what we can come up with this. Now, this is the thing that they said this was a spontaneous situation. And this guy just happened to have machine guns, mortar fires on top of the building. I want to not have to worry about if I share too much, if we can get something here. Let's get see, these are all ones that you can show that you don't have to go with. Here's the...
Hello, Rockstar Movie Recapped. I bring to you 13 Hours.
This sounds like a computer.
Benghazi, which was released on February 19, 2016, and was directed by Michael Bay. Spoilers ahead. Please subscribe before you continue. The opening text states that there were over 200 American outposts in Libya until 2012.
That sounds like a lot. 294 diplomatic outposts worldwide. 12 were dangerous, critical.
American outposts in Libya until 2012. Following the 2011 civil war, the deposition and execution of dictator Muammar Gaddafi, Benghazi became one of the most violent places in the world, forcing the United States to pull their outposts out of there.
They didn't want to. They were forced to. And it's hard to admit that America could be forced to do anything.
All except for one called the Annex, which protected by a team of CIA contractors, the Global Response Staff, GRS. Jack Silva, John Krasinski, arrives in Benghazi.
And that guy is so funny in The Office, but he is so serious in everything else.
And is picked up by his best friend / fellow contractor Tyrone Woods, James
Tyrone dies. He doesn't make it.
Badgedale. The two are stopped in the streets by a group of militants.
I mean, have you seen this movie, RJ?
I have not.
It's a tense movie, man.
Tyrone contacts their chief, David Costabile, to bring in the rest of the team for help, but the chief refuses. The militant leader orders the two to pull over their vehicle for inspection. Jack and Roan pull out their guns for defense, and Roan tells the leader that there is a drone circling them and will get him and his family if they do anything to him and Jack. The two are allowed to leave. At the CIA safe house, called the Annex, Roan confronts the chief over not letting the team go in. The chief reminds Roan not to engage civilians and avoid conflict with the militants. Jack meets the rest of the team.
So, anyway, the shit goes down.
Becky, Ren Schmidt, and their daughters. One of the girls spills the beans to Jack that Becky is pregnant with their third child. That night, a large team of militants stormed the compound and attacked as the Libyan guards on the outside surrendered. The militants fire off shots and invade the compound as Wickland takes Stevens and Sean Smith into the panic room, knowing they can.
You know that even though these guys were dying, they raped Sean Smith and the ambassador Christopher Hitchin. Not Christopher Hitchin, that's the author. Raped him.
Can't break in there. The militants begin pouring diesel fuel all over the floor to burn the men out. The fire is lit, bringing heavy smoke into the panic room. Wickland makes it out but ends up losing Stevens and Smith. The men at the annex are informed of the attack and want to head out to help, but the chief refuses to send them out for fear that the...
Yeah, he was under orders, don't do anything. And they never interviewed any of the survivors that were not supposed to be rescued. They were going to let those people die, RJ. That's what doesn't matter anymore.
The annex will be defenseless.
Yeah.
The team disregards their orders and heads over to special mission. The team heads back to the annex, but is pursued by the militants with RPGs and AKs.
An uncomfortable necessity.
Fearing retaliation, the C.
Yep. This one guy, him and his friends got a lot of property around Grand Junction, Colorado. A lot of these guys are moving here now. You know what? They kind of don't trust the government so much. So they say. I don't know. They could still be in on it. I don't know though. But they really got mad about this to where they left and they started talking about it. But it kind of went away because Hillary said it didn't matter.
CIA officers attempt to contact the nearest air bases to aid in a strike against the militants. They are able to contact Glenn "Bub" Doherty, Toby Stevens, a GRS officer in Tripoli that rounds up his own team and heads down to Benghazi to help. More militants headed toward the annex and continue their attack against the Americans.
Spontaneously had
combustion.
Fires back and continues to defend the compound, despite coming
This
under
is the
heavy
real
fire.
Alamo
The
type
militants fall back and
situation,
try
but
to
nobody
regroup,
gives a shit.
as does the team. The annex is contacted and told that more help is on the way. Soon, the militants return and launch a mortar strike against the annex. Roan gets hit and is killed, as is Glenn moments later. Oz is wounded and has his left arm mangled. Jack finds Roan's body and weeps for his best friend. As dawn arrives, the team is left vulnerable. A large convoy of vehicles heads toward the annex. Tonto has his gun aimed at a couple.
Tonto is the guy that is like the main, like, we got screwed. They told us stand down. We didn't want to do it. They're, and he's the guy that he's quieted down. He's just living his quiet life at Grand Junction.
Couple of men from the vehicles, but he gets a signal from them that they are there to help the team.
That's not
Tonto
devil
cries
horns.
with
That Tonto is kind of like into that Hawaiian Polynesian, stuff.
relief. These men from
It's
the
a
Libyan
hand
army
sign for I
gather the
love you
Americans
or
and
peace
bring
or
them to an
something.
airfield. The bodies of Stevens, Smith, Roan, and Glenn are recovered and taken. The chief chooses not to get on the plane back home until Jack confronts him and orders him to, after reminding him he is partially responsible for some of the lives lost in the attack. Before departing, Jack calls Becky to let her know he is okay. He breaks down crying when he tells
It's just a movie, so they say. And people like,
movie about an event.
My son might as well be dead right now. He was a genius, and you know what he's good at now? Drinking Fireball. And because he can't talk, they have to sign waivers that they'll never say anything negative about the United States, or they won't let them out of the military. They're sworn to secrecy and silence. And we're trying to expose that since 1958, something really bad went down. And God has used us to show that stones are crying out, that they're Kabbalistic, Darwinistic. Let's go to war for, it's the only thing to save the economy. And if you're not worried about the economy, you're stupid, because it's the economy, stupid. Thanks, James Carville, who worked for the Clintons at the time. But right now people care more about the money. December 7 just went down, and I think I'm the only one that put out a title about the day of infamy and made fun of it. But December 7, 9/11, all those things are forgotten right now because you either care about Syria being taken over because we sponsored ISIS, or you care about, oh my gosh, you know, how come the Chicago Bears are so bad, you know? It's one of those in between, or how come I'm such a bad gambler? You know, it seems so easy.
Mm-hmm. FanDuel or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have a big day. You know, I'm in. I could use prayer. I do want people to move to Alamosa. I want people to be ready because this isn't going to end with America being made great again, as if it ever could, because we're covering up that we were apartheid like South Africa. And yeah, I know you white people are the salt of the earth. You didn't do it. Your parents and grandparents were somehow in on this shit. Because that's why they don't do lobotomies anymore. Let everything you know wash over you. That's why they had the orphan trains. That's why my grandfather was born in 1889. That's how families used to be. He had a number of children, 13 that lived. My dad was the youngest. He was born in 36. I was born in 58. It didn't used to be that there's 33-year-old grandmothers running around left and right. That's all brand new because that's the way they want it, LGBTQ. And that's the way they got it. And there's going to be a pushback against it. The Muslims are going to push back in Syria and say the United States did this, and everyone's going to agree. And it's going to be like the Roaring 20s when the flappers got put down and prohibition came in, and the mafias are still going to run things. Anything you want to close with, RJ? I'm going to just leave it at that because I have a busy, busy day.
Yeah, I'm not feeling up to par currently, but hopefully in another day or so, I might snap back. I don't know.
Amen. Well, we, like Moses, are full of anxiety because of the people of God, and the world doesn't help. Your prayers do help, and you knowing that this is a flat earth nation. The golden age is long gone because the mud flood was Armageddon. Then there was 1,000 years. After that, there was a reaping. Then they needed orphan trains and everything else for this the rest of the dead that we're stuck with here in what's called, a short season where Satan's loosed, and then we're going to get rescued by fire. It's the way it is. We're not going to tell you anything else. We know we are 1 called, 2 chosen, 3 faithful, having your best interest at heart. Amen. Hallelujah. Aho. Aloha. Arrivederci. Ciao. Sayonara. Avete nakabe. That's how I say good.